Okay, we are live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Harrisburg City Council work session. Today is November the 17th, 2020. Ms. Houston, I'm calling this meeting to order at 5:34 p.m. Ms. Houston, please do the roll call.
It's Kirk here.
I'm sorry, Kirk. I thought.
No problem. Mr. Allett?
Present.
Ms. Bowers?
Present.
Ms. Daniels?
Here.
Ms. Green?
Present.
Mr. Madsen?
Here.
Mr. Majors? Ms. Williams?
Present. Thank you, Mr. Petrosky. I thought Ms. Houston was doing the meeting tonight. Now we'll proceed with the agenda, and we'll start with Community and Economic Development Committee. Mr. Madsen.
Yep. Ready, President Williams. Mr. Petrosky, could you read the resolution into the meeting minutes?
Sure. Resolution 87 of 2020 is a resolution approving the preliminary final subdivision and land development plan submitted by Tark Still on behalf of TLC Work-Based Training Programs, Inc. to construct 8 residential units on a vacant lot at 440 Kelker Street.
Yeah, okay. And is anyone from the administration here to present?
Yes, I am Councilman Madsen, Jeffrey Knight, Planning Director.
All right, Mr. Knight, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you and good evening, council members. So the case before you is a proposal to consolidate 3 lots on the project site, and as well as a to be vacated right-of-way for Kent Alley and a small right-of-way connecting Kent Alley to Kelker Street. So with the eventual vacations of those rights-of-way, which will be heard at, I believe, a special workshop session next Monday, there will be 4 properties that will be consolidated together. On those properties will be an 8-unit apartment building will be constructed, as well as some associated access and site improvements, including landscaping, some walking paths around the project, and connecting to the adjacent parking lot at 1820 North 5th Street that the applicant also owns. So the Planning Bureau and Planning Commission both recommended that the request be approved with the following conditions. The applicant will receive approval from City Council for the proposed vacation of Kent Alley, and which was submitted concurrently with this application. Per discussions during a previous review of the proposal, I believe that occurred earlier this year, when the applicant came through for both zoning relief and the current land development plan. The applicant will ensure that 8 spaces are reserved for the proposed units in the accessory parking lot of the adjacent property at 1820 North 5th Street, as I had noted just a second ago, and will ensure that these are signed for use by the building's tenants. The applicant will coordinate with the city engineer's office on the construction and rehabilitation of any sidewalks adjacent to the property, particularly the construction of a sidewalk along Kelker Street from the intersection with 5th Street to the existing sidewalks in front of 426 and 428 Kelker Street to ensure they are in compliance with ADA requirements and city regulations. The applicant should also coordinate with the city engineer's office on any lighting to be installed in the public right-of-way. And during the Planning Commission review, the applicant noted that there is actually a property between 428 Kelker Street and their site, so that they wouldn't have to construct the sidewalk all the way to 428 Kelker Street, because that would go across somebody else's property whose responsibility is to do that. So we would be fine with them ending at the westernmost extent of their properties. And then the applicant will extend the sidewalk connection to the adjacent parking lot to run along the southern edge of the lot, thus providing pedestrian access to those spaces as well. And this is a reference to the walkway that will connect the parking lot at 1820 North 5th Street to the stairwells that the applicant constructed in the rear of the proposed building. That access was provided to address concerns from the members of the public who attended the earlier meeting this spring on the case. And I know at the Planning Commission meeting, the applicants had indicated that the topography of the site might prevent that. So I guess they can speak a little bit more to that in just a minute here. But that's something we would just like to see, because right now the sidewalk ends kind of right where the ADA space would be located. So we just want to make sure that other parkers have direct access without having to go around a car that might be parked there. The applicant will coordinate with the city arborist on any proposed trees to be planted on site or in the surrounding rights of way. The applicant will apprise the Department of Public Works of the development to ensure adequate refuse service to the property and to update the account information for the property. So I'm not sure exactly where the refuse containers would be located. I'm not sure if they can be consolidated with a property to the north, for example, but that's something that the applicant can work out with our Department of Public Works. The applicant will coordinate with CRW regarding the installation of water and storm sewer management infrastructure on site and any connections to the existing networks. So we didn't receive a response back from CRW for this current review, but when they reviewed, and I think that's probably due to them both COVID restrictions and also them moving up to their North Front Street location. So I think that may just have delayed the reviews. But during their previous review of the project, which was the same footprint, same project, they indicated that water and stormwater infrastructure was sufficient to accommodate the development, and that the stormwater runoff would be managed on site in an appropriate manner. There was another condition that the applicant not utilize EFIS for the second and third floors, but that's more of a aesthetic preference and not necessarily a requirement. It's not an historic district or anything like that. So that I'll leave that up to the city council with respect to the facade treatments on the building. The Planning Bureau staff and the Planning Commission recommended the request be approved for the following reasons. The proposal will develop a currently vacant parcel with new housing units and associated public right-of-way improvements, and continue the improvement of a block on which the applicant has several other projects, including the hub office facility and a homeless veterans housing development. The project will be similar to housing units in the surrounding neighborhood in terms of architecture, massing, and relationship to the street. Despite the topography of the site, the applicant has included ADA access for one of the two primary entrances to the apartment building, ensuring that some of the units will be visitable and or habitable for those with physical disabilities. And the applicant has worked to address the concerns of the public regarding parking by agreeing to reserve parking in the accessory lot on the adjacent parcel and providing a pedestrian connection to the project. So overall, we think this is Planning Bureau feels that this is a good project. It will bring affordable housing to the neighborhood. It will develop a vacant lot, and it's really a continuation of the improvements that the applicant has brought to this block of North 5th Street. And so, we see this as being a real benefit to both the city and the residents who will eventually be tenants of the project. With that, I'll hand it over to the applicants.
Okay, is the applicant present?
Let's see. I believe Dan was on earlier, so I see Dan is on right now.
Yeah, I see him too. He's not muted. There he is. Hello? Sorry, Mr. Wise, we can't hear you.
Hey, Dan, you might need to check your connection on your audio piece.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you, Jeffrey. That's what it was. Okay. Good name is Dan Wise. I'm with RJ Fisher Engineering, here representing the applicant, who is TLC Construction and Renovations for the Kelker Street apartment project. I can speak to the conditions that Jeffrey listed. Of course, we are, and I could try to share my screen here so that I can point to the plan. Picture being worth 1,000 words. Let me try that. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Jeffrey mentioned that this is a lot consolidation of multiple properties, basically 3 lots and the Kent Alley. The initial lot, as well as attaching 2 smaller lots and vacating the Kent Alley and this 5-foot right of way. Hopefully you can also see my cursor as I move it along the screen. So that would be creating a larger lot adequate for 8 units, 8 apartment units. The plan as it is for this 8-unit apartment building oriented toward Kelker Street and with rear staircases and the connection to the hub parking area, which these parking spaces would be the ones dedicated for the use of parking for the apartment residents. Get down to the other conditions here. They will, the sidewalk has been extended further west along Kelker Street to connect to the existing concrete in front of 428, the Howard Lewis property at that location. This is a redevelopment authority lot here. So we would be extending in front of the redevelopment authority to make a physical connection with the existing sidewalk. We have added 1 street light. We have actually now 3 street lights at these locations. So that has been upgraded as well. As I mentioned, the staircases and the pathway in the rear of the property, which is in this configuration here, to make the connection to the parking lot and to the staircases, as well as out to the sidewalk along North 5th Street. The refuge trash cans would be, we're proposing permeable pavers along the rear of the property where individual trash cans would be lined up. They would be brought to the curb on trash collection day and then brought back to the property. That's the plan for trash refuse. I have been in touch with Public Works and coordinating with, waiting to hear from them about that. I've also coordinating with CRW as to the stormwater management. The stormwater management basically remains unchanged. We had gotten their approval for this back when we went through this process in the early part of the year. And there will be underground stormwater management areas here in the rear of the property to facilitate stormwater management. And I received an email today that, you know, things are okay as far as from CRW. So if there needs to be some more formal letter from CRW, I can pursue that as well. The extension of the path along the southern area of the hub parking is physically difficult because there is a steep slope along this area. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know, the contours don't quite do it justice, but there is a bit of an embankment and a slope along this area. So extension of the pathway along in this alignment would be kind of prohibitive because of the slope. So we feel a connection right there is about the best we can do. that may be, and so we take no exception to the conditions with the one exception that the applicant would like to use the EIFS siding product as it matches what they've done with the hub building. So they want to stick with the EIFS siding product. It is used in combination with masonry as well. And I think that was basically it. I will, unless somebody has a question about the plan that I could point out, I will stop sharing my screen and we can continue.
Yes, I do, Dave.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. You want to just open it up for questions now, President Williams?
No, you're the committee chair.
Okay, well, I didn't know you.
Well, no, he said, is anyone why he has the screen up? And that's why I have a question why he has the screen up. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, no, that's okay. Well, just ask your question.
Okay, Dan,
Yes.
you asked to vacate Kent Alley, and I know where Kent Alley is, but isn't that a thoroughfare from the Calvert Street to the Minnick Street? Doesn't that connect from one street to another?
Kent Alley, if you can see my cursor,
I can see your cursor.
currently exists in this alignment. In this area, Kent Alley is an unimproved alley right away. There's no alley there other than the right of way.
Okay,
So it's a paper street, and there's also an existing electric transformer in this location within that alley. So there's no thoroughfare that this provides at this point.
okay,
And this portion of the alley or this 5-foot right of way is also unimproved and serves no purpose really.
okay, I'm going to check it out. But I thought that there was one street or alley that gives you access to the hub and gives you a thoroughfare from Calvert to Minnick.
Yeah, Council President Williams, I think you might be referring to Fulton Street there. You can see it on the left of that of the site plan. So that does provide access to the rear.
Right
of,
away?
the
Okay,
hub.
okay, so I'm, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, Fulton Street provides the access to the parking lot of the hub.
Oh, okay, okay. I'll check it out tomorrow. But another question, Dan, is that you said you're gonna have the walkway that goes over the one particular path. You said it's a hilly area.
Right. This area here.
Is that in back of the homes that are presently there?
There are two homes that are
Right,
in this area. This might show up better. These two homes here, and this is an embankment, a slope,
sure.
and there's shrubbery in this location, and this continues to be kind of a sloped area.
Okay.
So it's kind of prohibitive to add a sidewalk along that curb in that manner.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dan. That's all I have, Mr. Mattson.
Hey, well, we have the display up here. Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, we have this visual.
Just if you can let us know, like, what's the makeup of the 8 units? Is it mostly studios, single rooms, 2 rooms, 2 bedrooms?
I think there's single bedroom units. I think it's a half singles and half 2 bedrooms.
Any other questions? While the diagram is up. Okay. Well, Mr. Wise, I think you can unshare your screen. And we'll open it up to some questions here that I have. So does the applicant, could you maybe go over your outreach plan for local small businesses or smaller contractors to participate in the project?
I'm not sure if Tarek.
I'm on the phone. I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Tarek, you want to speak to that?
Derek, while we're familiar with who you are, for the record, could you still state your name and title?
Tarek Castile, owner of TLC Construction.
Thank you.
As far as using small local minority contractors, this is what we do. We are a small local minority contractor, but on all our projects, we always use local and mostly minority contractors.
Okay. And then as soon as you can, if you could let us know when they would have an opportunity to bid on the project so we could circulate that through our network and make sure they have an opportunity for bidding, that would be great.
Okay.
And then just out of curiosity, what is the price per unit, or what formula are you using when it comes to pricing and affordability?
Prices per unit it's not a tax rate, it's fair funding. It's coming from PHFA, so there's going to be some affordable housing over there. 25% of it has to be affordable housing. So two of the units is going to be affordable housing. So price point, the other 6 will be market rate, but it's also handicap accessible as well. So for the low income houses, it's basically it's low to moderate income, so it'd probably be around about 700 for the affordable housing unit ones, and then the other ones, market rate ones, basically the rate that in the area for 2 bedrooms in that area.
Thank you. That's all the questions I had. The land development plan seemed pretty straightforward, so I will just open it up to my colleagues now. And just because it's regarding housing, I will start with Councilwoman Bowers.
I don't really have any questions. I do remember when this project was brought before us earlier this year. So I'm happy to learn that there's been some compromise and some changes and that we can take action on it. I'm also happy to note that 2 of the 8 units will be affordable. So that's awesome. I champion any opportunity for affordable housing within the city. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And next we'll do Councilwoman Green.
No, I don't have any questions on this project at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. President Williams.
Oh, thank you. Tarek, would it not be wiser to use a dumpster instead of the trash cans?
Can you say it again?
I said, would it not be wiser to use the dumpster instead of the trash cans? You would have 8 different trash cans. So would it be more efficient to use the dumpster?
It probably would, but I thought the city wanted trash cans for every unit. So I decided to go with that route. But I mean, that's not a big issue for me. If I thought it was, the city wanted trash cans, so because it was residential.
Maybe talk to Dave Wesson and Aaron Johnson, because I could see 8 different people leaving their trash cans out there after they've been emptied. I just had a problem. I know there's in that vicinity, some people are leaving their trash cans out even after trash has been picked up. So I was just thinking it would be, more efficient to have a dumpster instead of 8 trash cans.
Well, it might be a little tough for them to get their truck in there to get the trash dumpster.
They have to go on the side like they did the others.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to say congratulations. I'm glad you guys were able to move forward with this project. I've been an advocate for affordable housing, so I'm just elated to see that this is coming to fruition. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Williams. Vice President Allett.
I don't have any real questions. Thank you for addressing the parking though, because I know that was a long-standing issue within the neighborhood. So I think that's a good adjustment.
Councilman Majors has arrived. Do you need a moment?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you for, I guess, acknowledging me, and thank you, Tark, and everyone else who's been working on this project. I don't have, well, I guess the only question is when you get a chance, if you could get us what the rates are going to be on those other units, just so we have that. Because I know you're saying market rate, but if we can get an estimate on what that's looking at, I'd appreciate that. But outside of that, no further questions.
Okay.
And Councilwoman Daniels.
No, yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, with that, if there's no further questions, we will move to.
Councilman Madison?
Yes?
Oh, it's Charisse. How you doing?
Hello.
Public Works. Hi, Council President. Tark, congratulations. And just a quick question, and we can talk to Aaron and Dave about that, is it's 8 units? If I'm not mistaken, anything over 4 units will be considered commercial.
Okay, right.
So we can speak about that. If anybody want to update me or correct me on that, but anything over 4 units, I think at the 5th unit is considered.
Yeah, Charisse, this is Wes. At the 5th unit, it is, I think for most of those properties, they are considered. We'll have to just, we'll take a look and figure out how to make sure that they get the proper receptacles and things there. But yeah, we can take a look at that before it gets approved for a vote, if that's possible.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I just want to be clear before next week's vote, we would like, could you repeat that, Councilman Majors?
Yeah, so we're just, so for that unit, if it's all going to be one building, if there's over, I believe if there's 5 or more units, it's considered commercial, so they may have to get a dumpster, but we'll just have to clarify that depending on how all those units are going to be put together there. And then I said, just if, he could share with us, either via email, what the rates are going to be for some of the other properties outside of the 2 that are going to be at the market rate for, below at the affordable housing rate in accordance with the PHFA.
If I may speak to the dumpster issue, and I'm going to share my screen again so that I can point out. Everybody see my screen? Okay. In this area, we had previously designed a dumpster enclosure. That dumpster enclosure would have had to have been accessed off of across this wide concrete sidewalk off of 5th Street. And we were told, I believe by Public Works, that they would not be able to negotiate a turn with a trash truck across that, over that curb and over that sidewalk to access dumpsters in that area. And that was really the only area we had. So we had explored that option originally, but it seemed more feasible to go with individual trash cans along and then be put out at the curb.
Okay, that may be, that could be the same. I just didn't want anybody to get confused about the rates versus commercial versus the dumpster and everything. So what will end up happening, they will accommodate the toters to the level of the dumpsters. Then if we go that way, and if everybody is agreeing to that, that's the way it would pretty much go. That's how the other properties are charged if we cannot get a dumpster in a particular area. My main concern was just the confusion of being charged commercial versus residential more than anything.
Understood.
So are we good there on that clarification then?
Yeah, I think we are. And again, I'll just follow back up with Aaron and Dave outside of this. So no problem.
All right, thank you. All right, Well, if Tarek, you could send us that marketplace piece, appreciate that. And then we'll put this resolution up for a vote at our next legislative session. And I believe that concludes the portion of community and economic development for the work session.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mattson.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on to Public Works.
Thank you.
Public Works Committee, Mr. Majors.
Yes, thank you. For the Public Works Committee, we have one resolution and then an update. So the first resolution is Resolution 77 of 2020, a resolution approving the disposition of surplus equipment and vehicles that have exhausted their useful life for city operations by the Bureau of Vehicle Management. And can't see all who's here, so who will be speaking on behalf of the administration on this?
Fleet Manager Nicholas Fisher. I'm here for the administration.
Okay. Yep, thank Nick. If you can just give us a brief overview of all of what's being surplus, we'd appreciate that.
Okay, for this resolution, we have several vehicles that we're putting up to include light duty vehicles such as Impalas, some SUVs such as Tahoes and vans, and then some utility vehicles, which would be a 1-ton dump, and another Silverado 2500. We also are trying to reduce the square footage in our warehouse, and we have obsolescent vehicle parts. So parts for vehicles that were back from the 1990s that we no longer have in the fleet. And then also other obsolescent equipment such as jacks that were from the Brenner building that we didn't want to get rid of while it was still under negotiation. But these are in-floor jacks that we're not using. We have floor models that we brought with us from the 19th Street. And then one of our old air compressors that we replaced last year. So we're trying to do a lot of housekeeping and getting this out of here, especially while we're trying to capture any residual value on it and not letting it age even further.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. And it looks like that all of them from the list I have will be going to auction if this is approved. So just want to open it up to questions from any members of council. So I'll start with Councilwoman Daniels. Do you have any questions?
I don't.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Alla, any questions on this resolution?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. President Williams?
No, thank you.
Right, Mr. Mattson, Councilman Mattson, any questions?
None for me. Seems straightforward. Thank you.
All right. Councilwoman Green, any questions on Resolution 77?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Councilwoman Bowers, any questions?
I don't have any questions either. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing none and hearing none, I'd ask that we would move Resolution 77 to a vote at our next legislative session. Thank you, Nick.
All right, thank you for your time.
Next, we have slated an update from the Harrisburg Environmental Advisory Council. I don't know if, I guess, Chris, are you here? Up there?
Yes.
See, I had to scroll through the top view. So, all right, I guess we'll turn it over to you and then other members of the EAC.
Okay. Yep. So I just wanted to start and let everyone know that from the period of time during the recess for City Council in the summer, there were a number of different initiatives and programs that we've either been approached about or have updates on. And so I was just going to do a brief introduction going through each of those items and then turn it over to my fellow EAC members and some of the individuals here from Harrisburg University and DEP to describe each of the things that they're here for. So the first, approximately a little over a year ago, Heidi Kunke and the Energy Programs Office of DEP had made me aware of a program that DEP has to sponsor municipalities to enter into an agreement with an organization called ICLEI to create greenhouse gas inventories for the city and then develop local climate action plans to try to reduce the total emissions of the cities, which have been sponsored. And so I applied for that this summer, and the city of Harrisburg was chosen and partnered with Harrisburg University on that initiative. So that is one item. Separately from that, we were approached by Harrisburg University to apply for a grant from the National Science Foundation. They had created a civic innovation grant program, which looks to try to address and improve resilience against climate impacts. And so specifically for the city of Harrisburg, what we're looking at is susceptible to flooding, both from river level rise and from stormwater events. And Arvin from Harrisburg University will speak on that in a moment. Also, as a part of their Keystone 10 Million Trees Partnership Initiative, Chesapeake Bay Foundation had chosen Rafiqa Muhammad on our Environmental Advisory Council as one of the recipients for their Mira Lloyd Dock Award, which is a grant for a tree planting program. And Rafiqa and Christine Proctor on our EAC will explain more details about what they have in mind for that particular program and that grant funding. In addition, we, as some of you may be aware, we had hosted a couple of events for trying to raise community awareness and engagement around the work to restore the greenhouse and the greenhouse area back to functional use in October. We also had previously hired Ed Black and Associates to try to complete the landscape design architecture for the area. They have turned over some preliminary sketches and ideas to us, which we've discussed at EAC meetings as well as with our greenhouse working group. I can provide all of that information over to you. This is just an example of the sketch of what they had in mind, looking at adding vegetative slopes to try to reduce stormwater runoff, as well as a bioswale to capture water and an underground cistern to reuse rainwater in the actual growing of the produce there. ADA accessible ramps and also the raised ADA accessible garden beds, as well as bike racks, tool sheds, and a number of different things. We also have been approached by DEP, the Office of Environmental Justice, to partner with them on hosting a statewide environmental justice symposium next spring. We are proposing to allocate funding from the host fee to partner with them on that. This map, as you, which I have up, is from the Department of Environmental Protection. It's a map designating communities that they have marked as environmental justice communities in the state of Pennsylvania. So as you can see, there is a reason why they've chosen to have that in Harrisburg and why they've asked us to participate. So I just wanted to play this short video, which is about the organization ICLEI that I had previously mentioned, and the Clear Path tool, which is used to try to complete the greenhouse gas inventories and the climate action plans. And then I'll turn it over to my partners who are on here.
Increasingly, cities are where we thrive. And cities are where we will find the solutions for
Chris, we can hear it, but we can't see the video.
Climate change. But how will cities meet this challenge? The answer lies in data. Data is the key to unlocking cities' potential for creating.
We'll just have to start a new screen share.
Sorry.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, Chris, yeah, we can just see the video. I mean, you can see that, you can hear it, not see it.
Okay, I heard you. Hold on one second.
Buildings, energy, and waste. Yet until now.
Can everyone see it now?
No.
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 Okay. Well, anyway, I don't want to necessarily hold things up. I'll send out the link so everyone can watch the video. It's basically just an explanation of the program and the tool that ICLEI provides to be able to complete the work that we're looking to try and do. So then I will turn it over to, I believe, Alan and Alan and Marie, which are the students from Harrisburg University and Penn State Harrisburg, who are helping us with this work.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, President Williams and members of the council. Thank you for having us this evening. My name is Alan Strayer, and I'm a research assistant in the Sustainable Energy Development Laboratory at Harrisburg University. Marie Jean-Marie and myself will be talking to you this evening about the Local Climate Action Program. This program is funded by the U.S. Department of Energy and conducted through the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection in collaboration with the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, or ICLEI, universities such as Harrisburg University, and communities across the Commonwealth with the goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and promoting greater social equity. Local communities are paired with students and receive training from ICLEI on best practices to develop greenhouse gas inventories and climate action plans. Students and communities apply the training they receive from ICLEI to collect and assemble data for analysis using ICLEI's ClearPath inventory tool that Chris's video would have talked a little bit more about. The inventory tool provides insights into the current state of greenhouse gas emissions in the community and provides a forecast of expected future emissions that we can then use to guide the climate action plan process. This is the second such cohort of the program involving 21 local governments and 12 universities, such as the City of Harrisburg and Harrisburg University. This program is executed in two phases. The first phase involves the development of a greenhouse gas inventory. We've been hard at work on this since September, and we should have that finished about over the next week. And we will be sending that over to the city and to ICLEI to get final approval on that. The second phase involves developing a climate action plan. That will start in January of 2021, and we expect that that will be completed by June 30th of 2021. So I'll hand it over to Marie, and she'll tell you a little bit more about the greenhouse gas inventory process.
Thank you, Alan. Good afternoon, Madam President and the City Council members. My name is Marie Jean-Marie, a student at Harrisburg University and one of the interns working on the development of the local climate action plan for the City of Harrisburg. And tonight I'll be talking to you about the process of the local climate action plan. The process of development involved engaging with Chris Nape and the Office of Sustainability, DEP, U.S. Census, and the EPA greenhouse gas inventory to obtain data for utilities such as electricity and natural gas usage for residential, commercial, and industrial. Wastewater management, transportation emission for factors, and energy production. Once the data is collected, it will be entered into the master data workbook that was provided by ICLEI and complied into the ICLEI software that will use to assess the current state of emission and also help to acquire a forecast for future emissions, and will provide the information we need to start the planning phase. Now, Alan will be talking more about the planning phase.
Thanks, Marie. The process of developing the climate action plan involves analyzing the greenhouse gas inventory data to determine where reductions can be made and engaging with key stakeholders in the local government and in the community to establish goals for reducing emissions. We would appreciate the council's input in this phase of the process to identify who the key stakeholders are in the community. And we look forward to having a dialogue with you throughout that process. We will also be engaging with the community to understand the needs of the community and how those needs should guide the planning process so we can ensure that we successfully achieve our goal of social equity in that program. So that concludes our portion of the presentation. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present this program to you, and I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you. I don't know, I guess is there an additional portion?
Yeah, I was just going to turn it over to Arvind to explain the National Science Foundation application.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris. Good evening, Madam President and members of the City Council for having us in this meeting today. My name is Arvind Ravikumar, and I'm a faculty here at Harrisburg University, and I run the Sustainable Energy Development Lab here. And what I'm going to do now is provide an update on the National Science Foundation proposal that Harrisburg University has applied for in partnership with the City of Harrisburg. This project is part of the National Science Foundation's Civic Innovation Challenge. The Civic Innovation Challenge is a really unique program that combines research and implementation of solutions to major societal challenges. This year, NSF is focusing on improving community resilience to natural disasters through mitigation and adaptation efforts. It is one of the most unique programs in NSF that requires participation both from universities, but also local governments and community organizations. As part of this effort, NSF has instituted a two-stage process. Stage one is for a planning grant, where we work with all the stakeholders to develop a plan for implementation. NSF awards up to $50,000 for this process. The stage two is an implementation grant that will begin by middle of 2021, which is a $1 million grant that's given to communities and universities to develop and implement the solutions that they developed during the planning phase. The project that we submitted to NSF is about improving resilience to floods and extreme rainfall with infrastructure and behavioral improvements in the city of Harrisburg. One example of addressing this issue is looking at flooding, for example, in Market and around 13th and 14th streets. We have submitted the proposal to NSF. We should be hearing back from them within the next month, and we'll be able to provide more of an update and the process by which we bring together the city and community organizations to develop the implementation plan for the second phase. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council might have on this project. Thank you.
Wes, did you want to open it to questions for Arvin right now, or cover the next item first?
Yeah, I think we can do a quick open for, I guess, Arvin and Alan Strayer as well, since if we're going to have a few additional portions, we want to make sure that while things still may be fresh on people's minds, that they have an opportunity to ask a question. So again, Arvin, I'm really interested in looking at the flooding at 13th and 14th. So the process, because that's an area that, you know, is, I guess, it's a chronically floods when we have heavy rain events. So that's something that we're looking to make sure we can work to tackle. Walk me through some of the, I guess, additional steps, or if there's any public input or any other data collection that you may be interested in gathering for that before that proposal gets fully, I guess, applied for.
Absolutely. And thanks for the question. So when we submitted this grant, it was through Harrisburg University, which is what NSF requires, but it was in partnership with other organizations. So we worked with the city of Harrisburg, we worked with Capital Region Water, and we worked with YMCA Camp Curtin to bring this proposal together. To sort of summarize what our proposal involved, it's a combination of a research process and a pilot and implementation process. So this would include some sensor deployment to analyze trends in the flooding in that, for example, in that region. It will involve discussions with community organizations on education campaigns, on strategic road surface modifications, and designing and testing alert systems to reduce the impacts of extreme events like floods and rainfall. The way this process is going to work is, once we hear back from the NSF in the next few weeks, we'll bring all the stakeholders together and develop a schedule for this planning process. So the planning process is given 6 months by NSF, during which time we'll have to develop a detailed plan for implementation. What kind of data are we going to collect? What kind of interventions are we going to make, and how are we going to evaluate the effectiveness of our interventions? All of this proposal would be submitted to NSF by March 2021. And if selected, they'll start sending us funds by June 2021, where we'll be implementing the works that we proposed in the plan. It would be about $1 million, most of which would go into the community for the implementation and research purposes.
Okay, thank you. No, that sounds great. So, you know, we'll knock on wood, cross our fingers that NSF takes our that proposal under consideration. Any additional questions from members of council? I'll start with, I'll go the opposite direction. I'll start with Councilwoman Bowers. Do you have any questions thus far for either Mr. Strayer or Arvin?
No, thank you. Gentlemen, thank you for your presence tonight and sharing these wonderful updates. I look forward to successful completions of the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Green, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm interested in finding out more information, especially about the flooding. So that's very interesting to me. So thank you for your dedication and for your willingness to work with us.
Absolutely. Let's go, Mr. Madsen.
No questions for me at this time. Thank you.
All right, President Williams.
Yes, thank you. You're speaking about 13th and 14th streets, and I'm very much aware of how the flooding impacts that community. Are you looking at other areas of the city of Harrisburg? Because as you indicated, as was indicated before, we are designated as an environmental justice city.
Yep.
I am thinking about the Clay Street area where there's continuous flooding, and we have tried to work at interventions to try to correct that problem. And for the last 20 years, we have not been able to do that. So is that one of the designated areas you're looking at as well?
Absolutely, Madam President. The 13th and 14th Street was just an example,
Okay.
but it's going to include all critical areas where we have this issue.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. And that's what I was concerned about, because that's where a lot of flooding occurs and where a lot of cars attempt to try to go through that flooded area and end up getting flooded out. How about the corridor of Cameron Street? Are you looking at that area as well?
Yes, so the way it works is NSF gives us 1 year for implementation, and
Okay.
we'll work with the city to figure out the strategic areas where we want to implement these interventions and evaluate our progress.
Okay, but thank you very much for you looking at interventions to correct some of the problems, about flooding in the city. I'm very much interested in some of the designated areas. So when you have that completed, could you just, give a copy to City Council, let us know where the areas that you're concerned about. There may be areas that we know that you're not aware of.
Yep, absolutely, and we'll come back with an update to the council on that.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have, Mr. Majors.
All right, thank you, President Williams. Vice President Hallett.
Yes, good evening, everyone. First, Arvin, it's good to see you again. Hope all is well. Wanted to really just highlight that this is a great example of a partnership and a collaboration that can really lead to some long-term positive effects on the city. So I really want to commend the EAC for really truly being an example of what this can be. Hopefully other commissions and other groups are looking at this as a strong example of what we can do. So I want to commend all of you for this, and I look forward to seeing where this goes and also just seeing the effects of it. It's really an important issue. I've had conversations years ago talking about the effects of climate change on the city, and many people in the legislature were naysayers to any issues that we were facing, but we know all too well what we're facing in the city based on we're seeing it every day. So I really want to commend everybody for this, and I'm excited to see where this goes. So thank you for all of your commitment and your participation in the process.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, and Councilwoman Daniels, do you have any questions?
None for me, thank you.
All right, thank you. And I guess I'll turn it back over to Chris to continue the presentation.
Okay. Actually, I'll just turn it over to Christine and Rafika to speak about the Mayor Lloyd Dock Award from Chesapeake Bay Foundation, as well as some of the work that was done in terms of community outreach on the greenhouse.
Thank you. And thank you, President Williams and the council for having us here tonight. And I just wanted to make you guys aware that EAC member, Ms. Rafika Muhammad, was chosen recently at the end of October for a Mira Lloyd Dock Diversity Award. And as Mr. Dave mentioned, that is part of the 10 Million Trees project with Chesapeake Bay Foundation. And that awarded Ms. Muhammad $5,000 to jumpstart a program that she has been wanting to do in partnership with the EAC for a while. And that is the Memorial Tree project. And it is a way to couple education about trees while also honoring members of the city who have lost their lives to violence and COVID-19. And given the timing of when the award was given, and when Ms. Muhammad first proposed this project, we were thinking about honoring those who have lost their lives to violence within the city. But given the current COVID-19 pandemic, she also wanted to extend that to those who have lost their lives to COVID-19. We are hoping that we can take this $5,000 and use it as a starting point, and leverage that to increase funding from outside organizations and other opportunities within Chesapeake Bay Foundation, to be able to increase the opportunities to reach as many families impacted as possible, as well as kind of tie in those educational pieces that we would like to include concerning trees in the city. So again, congratulations, Ms. Muhammad, for being honored in that award.
Yep.
Thank you,
Congratulations,
Christine.
Ms. Muhammad.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And I'm really looking forward to pulling this together. I just want to give you a couple of details real quickly about how this will come together. It will be through the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, along with the United National Forestry. There's several large groups here that brought this award together. Looking at partnering also with the Pennsylvania EJAB board, as well as our EAC and our residents in our community. I just feel y'all all know that we have issues with trees in our city. And I just feel that this is one way that we can also get information to residents, also a way we can educate our residents about the importance of trees. Also, I just feel this is another way that we can help some of our residents work through their grief, to help bring our community a little bit of healing. Looking at doing this project the week of Earth Day. For what I understand, talking to Charisse in Public Works, the city hasn't had a Earth Day presentation in a couple of years. So looking at doing that week, as well as along with the EJ Symposium, which one of our colleagues will talk about that a little later. So I will be giving out information pretty much as this comes together on how people can participate in this. It's not going to be no long, lengthy process. We have 37 trees to work with, along with equipment and supplies to make the planting started. So I just wanted to share that with you, and I'm very excited. And I want to thank you all for giving me an opportunity to be able to replant trees in our community. I wanted to share with you real quickly, we talked a little bit about the greenhouse, and we had 2 events in October 2nd and also October 8th. We was able to walk out. It was about 7, maybe 9 of us individuals, residents that live in the city, took 500 flyers and 200 door knockers and went into about a 20+ block radius on the side of Whitehall Street, almost all the way over to Dairy, distributing flyers, talking to people that speak in Latino language, engaging them about what's going to happen up in the greenhouse. As of to date, as of this evening, we have already outreached over 4,200 residents within the city about the project and what we would like to do up there, and engaging them to participate. We did receive funding from the WIC Foundation. Chris, please correct me if I'm saying that wrong, of $2,500 to teach residents.
25,000.
I'm sorry, $25,000 to teach residents within the community how to grow their food. A lot of that has to do with the COVID-19, because of the fact that we're in Black and brown communities being hit very hard with the disease, and because our immune system and our nutrition, we're just not eating healthy. So we're looking at reaching out to 50 families, which will break down to 15 people to each class, a total of 6 weeks. The goal of next year is to have gardens up and running. Not the whole plan, but at least a part of it, to start educating and start feeding our community over in that area.
And just a quick update on the funding there. So the original grant we received was $25,000 from Witt Family Foundation. That was for the plans from Ed Black and Associates. We also got the $5,000 grant from Rotary, which we used for the raised ADA accessible garden beds. And since then, we have received an additional $25,000 from the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. And then the second Witt Family Foundation grant that Ms. Muhammad just mentioned for another $25,000 for the gardening education classes.
Congratulations. Mr. Majors?
Oh, my apologies. I'm sorry, I missed the last piece. There's a going on right now. If there's any questions from any members, I'm sorry. Where were we? I apologize.
Greenhouse.
Greenhouse. Okay. So I heard some of the totals. Do any members of council have any questions regarding the greenhouse update? I'll start with Councilwoman Daniels. Any questions?
No, not right now.
Okay. Vice President Allett.
No questions. Just want to echo congrats, Rafika. I think this is fantastic. And hopefully in the spring we have great weather and something to come together as a community and do good things with. I'm sure many of us will want to get outside and be able to help. So keep us up to date with what's going on with that.
All right. President Williams.
No questions. Just wanted to echo my congratulations to Ms. Rafika for the award that she received. But yes, I do have one question. You're talking about doing gardens within the city of Harrisburg. Is there one particular area, or this is all over the Harrisburg area?
This will be up in the greenhouse area, the area that we've been working on for the past several years. We're finally moving that into a very, the direction that we were looking at. So just looking at that as well. I do want to mention, as well, as we talked about reducing water, that greenhouse area and Reservoir Park is also, as we plant and vegetation that we put in, will also reduce water and the flow that's coming out of that side of the park, which will help reduce our flooding. So we're looking at cisterns, we're looking at rain gardens, and we're also looking at what type of vegetation as far as vegetables and fruit that we plant up there. All of that does slow down the water and helps reduce our flooding.
Thank you very much. That's all I have, Mr. Majors.
All right. Thank you. Councilman Madsen, any questions?
No questions for me. Glad to see we're moving forward with the greenhouse, and appreciate being proactive with letting residents know what's going on in the outreach. And congratulations again on your reward, Ms. Mohammed.
All right. Councilwoman Green, any questions?
I don't have any questions. Congratulations, Ms. Rafika. I'm excited. I'm excited to see this making progress and coming to fruition. For many years, it sat there, and it's something that's an asset to our city, especially because we don't see that many gardens in our city. Our kids need to learn more about sustainable agriculture and our own gardens and the resources that we can make within our own city. So I'm excited about that. And again, congratulations.
And Councilwoman Bowers, any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I'd just like to conclude the congratulatory comments for Ms. Mohammed on such a well-deserved award. I too look forward to either helping plant some trees or learning how to grow something and actively participating. So thank you for your outreach, and thank you for all of the work that you've done thus far.
Yeah. And I guess I'd also echo those sentiments. I know this has been a labor of love for Ms. Rafika and several members of the EAC. And we're finally glad that we're going to be getting some use out of that building. It has sat vacant on Whitehall Street for I don't know how many years, and actually see it, some of the vegetation that overgrew being torn out. You actually see the building and a lot of the changes that are going to be made up there. Are we also, and I don't know if this is a question for you or Dave Baker or Chris, how are we going to utilize the, there's it was an old rec building right there that you can access, that's, sits there right at the corner of the Reservoir Park up from the basketball courts.
Brownstone?
Yeah, that building back there. How are we going to utilize that for potentially any, learning opportunities?
That's an ongoing conversation that I have spoken with Director Baker about that. We are looking to try and utilize it. There's a kitchen there, so we were hoping to be able to utilize this demonstration kitchen to be able to show people how to prepare the food grown in the greenhouse area there.
Okay, great. Yeah, because look, I remember.
You're going in and out, Mr. Majors.
Wow. And there were, I'm having connection issues. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'll switch to Wi-Fi in a second, but I was just saying that that building there has been utilized for, years when they first got built for training, and it was indoor space that could be used when we had inclement weather for Harrisburg Parks and Rec. So hopefully we'll be able to utilize that in conjunction with this project to make that kitchen area and other things available. Chris, is there anything else? Any other updates?
One more. The proposal for the Environmental Justice Symposium that I had mentioned, we have John Breakall from the Environmental Justice Office with DEP here with us to discuss that.
Hi, good evening, Madam President and City Council members. I'm John Breakall with Pennsylvania DEP. The EJ Symposium is being spearheaded by a partnership largely by Pennsylvania DEP's Environmental Justice Advisory Board, which is an advisory board that provides recommendations and comments to the DEP Secretary and the DEP at large on environmental justice issues and initiatives. And Rafika Muhammad sits on that board and has been instrumental in kind of bringing this idea to Harrisburg. Also, we have Harrisburg University and some other universities that are associated with PERC, the Pennsylvania Environmental Resources Coalition, that are working on this initiative as well. So we anticipate having this event a bit virtually in Harrisburg as the capital city. So we'll tune in throughout the state, and we'll have regional hubs that will also be participating. And I'll kind of explain that when I explain like the format of it. So we'll have opening remarks by presumably the city of Harrisburg and a couple of the sponsors of the event, a keynote speaker, and then a couple panel discussions. And then in the afternoon, we'll have facilitated breakout sessions. And at that point, we'll have a breakout session for Harrisburg and a couple of these regional hubs that will be participating, like Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Erie, and as of right now, Carlisle. And we have a couple other ones that are starting to form. So the objective of this is to bring together different sectors and partners to address some of these issues. Local government like the city and EAC, academia like Harrisburg University, some of the nonprofit environmental and civic organizations, state government, also some of the industry partners like Covanta and some others, ultimately to try and identify resources, develop some capacity, and ultimately really develop relationships and coalitions to, again, address some of these environmental justice issues that are oftentimes cross-cutting and not things that can be addressed through, one organization or one entity or one government agency. So it's kind of a way to develop, again, these partnerships and coalitions. And presumably we have it right now, the second week of April. We haven't put down an exact date for that, but we're looking at the week of April 2nd to April 9th for this event.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Does any member have any questions before we turn it back over to Chris just to make sure there's anything else? I'll just open it up. Does anyone have any questions for John? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, John. Chris, is there anything additional that you want to provide before we
I think Moen was about to try to play that video that I failed at playing earlier.
Before we play the video, can we, I also just, since John finished up talking about the Environmental Justice Symposium, one of the things that the EAC did want to do, and Chris mentioned in his PowerPoint, was that we did recommend just in support of this Environmental Justice Symposium, because the EAC sees it as such a crucial topic and one that we need to address in the city of Harrisburg, is that we did adjust the host fee fund budget a little bit to allocate some funds to help support the Environmental Justice Symposium.
Okay, and what dollar figure were you looking at?
$10,000.
Okay, and that would be in this upcoming budget?
Yes.
Correct. But
okay.
Did want to point out that when you guys see that, when you look at the budget, that is directly to support the Environmental Justice Symposium.
Okay, thank you. So when we do receive the budget from the administration, we will take a look at that and look at that accordingly as we're looking at the overall spend for the city for 2021. President Williams, do you have a question?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay, I guess maybe try to play the video before we conclude. I don't know, Moment, do you have a chance, or we're just gonna have that link sent around? Oop, here we go.
Increasingly, cities are where we thrive. And cities are where we will find the solutions for humanity's greatest challenge, climate change. But how will cities meet this challenge? The answer lies in data. Data is the key to unlocking cities' potential for creating a healthier and safer world. Local governments around the world are pursuing innovative solutions for tackling carbon pollution from transportation, buildings, energy, and waste. Yet until now, few cities have had the tools to fully understand emissions trends and inform smart policy decisions. ICLEI's powerful online application ClearPath dramatically improves how cities use data to meet their climate goals. ClearPath is a comprehensive emissions management platform that guides local governments through a proven step-by-step process for cutting carbon pollution. Cities begin calculating their community's carbon footprint in the inventory module. ClearPath makes it easy to create emissions inventories consistent with global protocols like the GPC and to send data to public reporting sites like the Carbon Climate Registry. Next, cities use ClearPath's forecast module to examine how their community's emissions will change over time and to better understand what the future will hold if no action is taken. With this information, cities then use the planning module to evaluate climate change policies and programs and visually communicate how they will meet their emissions reduction targets. Finally, cities use the monitoring module to track projects and trends, supporting a process of continuous improvement in climate performance. Currently, over 300 U.S. communities are using ClearPath to track their energy and emissions data. A select group of just 17 communities have demonstrated estimated reductions of over 11 million tons of carbon pollution, equal to taking 2.5 million cars off the road in the U.S. We're all in this together, and finally, we have a clear path forward.
Thank you, Chris.
So that's everything for now.
Okay, Mr. Majors.
I think he might try to be reconnecting with his Wi-Fi.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. And we'll now move on to Mr. Majors.
Yep, yeah, sorry. Yep, thanks, Chris, and thanks, everybody. Yep, and that'll conclude the meeting, and we'll be talking about the budget and other things when that comes down from the administration.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Moving on to Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Allen.
Thank you. Yes, moving on to a discussion of Resolution 83 of 2020. Kirk, would you go ahead and read that into record?
Sure. Resolution 83 of 2020 is a resolution ratifying an agreement between the City of Harrisburg and Servco Insurance Services Incorporated for the provision of third-party administrator services relating to general liability and related claims.
Thank you. And I'm assuming, Mark, are you on to discuss this resolution?
Actually, Neil's going to take part of it. He'll okay. Do the introduction.
And I'm assuming this is just the outcome of the bid to select somebody, correct?
Correct.
Right. Neil, I'll turn it over to you if you just want to go over the contract details.
Sure. So as you know, there was a whole process to look at the services we were getting from third-party administrators. It wasn't a purely sort of dissatisfaction, but sort of a responsible steward approach to how much money we were spending. We deal with third-party administrators every day. Ultimately, when it came down to it, in Servco, who we were already familiar with, and if people do not know, is actually in the Penn National building right next door to us, provided a much better pricing scenario for the city. We were already using in Servco for our workers' compensation portfolio and have for years as a third-party administrator. So we're familiar with them. It's different staff with different expertise than workers' comp. But they basically will provide us, and they already are, with daily reports and weekly and monthly reports on claims They process them. They provide adjusters with expertise. So, example, if we have a car accident or a tree falling or a claim against a police officer or firefighter, they have people to assign as an adjuster to open up an investigation, to assign counsel who we approve, and to basically take it there as referred to a cradle to grave, from the notice of the claim until the matter resolves one way or the other. They manage reserves that we have on claims over time and track them. The reality is we have, this contract starts October 1. It doesn't take over our claims portfolio. It starts a new one because it's cradle to grave services. So we have Gallagher Bassett finishing up what was with them, and then we have in Servco starting with the new claims. I'm not sure if there is more detail that you're looking for.
I'm sorry, are they waiting on us to ratify this because of, or like the fact that it technically?
No, they had to start October 1. We're ratifying it, but they are on board. One of the odd consequences of COVID, because everything was shut down so long and claims are a few months behind, we went through October without a single claim. I think that's the first month we've come close to that. And that really has to do because there's not activity going on. So while they're on board, I think we've had now 2 claims in November from back in time that they're handling, but it is small. They handle both the small ones, like a trash truck knocked a mirror off a car, to the great big ones. And so we do them in property one versus general liability ones.
And I just have to ask, is the reason why we're getting the contract now and not back in October? Is it like, was it under review, or what was the?
Sure. So it was right up to it. It was, it was a process. Everything is slowed because of COVID. And so, the question there, you have not had one of these, if you remember, ever, I think, since you or I have been here, where there's been a third-party administrator process. That last time it happened was in receivership. So it just took to get through it, to get everything through. But it also seemed important to make sure that it's publicly understood that we were making that change. And Mark can talk about the economics, and he was involved in the choosing of them, as was Isaac from the Law Bureau.
Now, in terms of whether this is for you, Neil, or you, Mark, does this change in terms of vendor offer us a better long-term value in terms of savings? Is it more on par with where we've been? Is it like, what are there improved features for us that we would be seeing in terms of making this change at this time?
So honestly, the in Servco and Gallagher Bassett were known quantities to us. And so at the end of the day, for me, this was really going to market to see if we were priced appropriately. And literally in Servco was almost 30% lower than the next bidder. And there were 4 other bidders. And so with the fact that they're a known entity, and they answered subsequent questions from our city solicitor, pointed questions about their serviceability and the things that they were able to provide for us. They scored well above the other bidders based on price and the answers to those questions.
Good, thank you for that. I don't have additional questions this time, but I'll turn it over to my colleagues, and I'll start with Councilmember Daniels.
I don't have, so these, they're not going to be the adjusters. They're going to be the people who contract with the adjusters?
No, they are the adjusters. Their adjusters are in their firm. So for example, if we had a incident with 3 police officers and someone sued, they'd provide an adjuster to the city, and if there's any conflict, they provide a separate adjuster to a police officer, which is sort of a routine approach a lot of times to claims that arise.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Going over to Councilmember Majors, are you available with any questions that you have?
No question at this time, but I may have questions if this goes forward to a vote. Thank you.
All right, going over to Council President.
Neil, for the first year, we're paying $5,000 out of flat fee. Does that cover everything, right? Regardless of whatever happens or whatever incident or liability we have? Is that what you're stating? And it's
No, I think there's a $5,000 fee, and then there is a per claim handling fee,
so
depending on the type of claim.
okay, that's my question. Because if we have 2 automobile damages in 1 month, then that's per automobile property damage, that's $445 per claim, right?
That's for bodily injury.
Well, I'm just looking. Well, okay. It says automobile liability property damage $445, automobile liability bodily injury $445, automobile physical damage is $280. So that's my question.
Yeah,
We have 2 different claims in that same month, then we're paying $560, $280 per claim. Is that how that works?
For the life of the claim.
Right. Okay.
So if it takes a year, it's a year. If it takes 2 years, but it's that's where at the bottom of that section it refers to it's a cradle to grave fee.
Right.
That
I see
goes
that.
there.
Okay.
So and we do that already with Gallagher Bassett.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I wanted to know, because I see you cannot exceed $250,000, and that's my question. Would we exceed that? Have we ever exceeded that?
That's a different thing. So we have self-insured retention.
Right. I understand
and the 250,000 is our deductible to get the excess insurance. So the self-insured retention covers 250 of up to 500,000 in exposure. And so most of our cases obviously fall into that category.
Yeah, they do.
That's the claim value versus the fee to process the claim.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Manson.
No questions for me, thank you.
Councilmember Green.
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Bowers.
I don't have any questions. Thank you for asking.
Any other questions at this point from anyone before I move this to a vote for next week's legislative session? All right, hearing none, I'll turn it back over to you, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Moving on to Building and Housing Committee, Ms. Bowers.
Thank you, President Williams. Good evening. Who from the administration? Oh, well, let's first read the resolution into the record, Mr. Petrosky.
All right, Resolution 89 of 2020 is a resolution authorizing the city to negotiate and enter into a master certified local government grant agreement with the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission, providing for eligibility to apply for grants through the Certified Local Government Grant Program for projects that support the city's historic preservation program.
Thank you. I see Mr. Grumbine. Will you be speaking on behalf of the administration this evening?
I will, yes.
If you wouldn't mind providing an overview of the resolution, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Of course.
Thank you.
Hello, Council. I'm Frank Grumbine. I'm the Historic Preservation Specialist and Archivist for the city. So the city, as you may be aware, is a certified local government. It's an agreement between PHMC and the National Park Service, Department of Interior, for our historic preservation program. It allows for the city to apply for grants and scholarships through PHMC and the National Park Service. The certified local government master grant contract will help facilitate the transfer of grants to allow projects to begin quickly following the funding award. And PHMC is implementing the new master grant contract for our CLG grant program this year. The grants can range between $100 to $25,000, and the master contract will allow PHMC to move to more easily award grants and funds and scholarships to the city of Harrisburg as part of the CLG agreement. The master grant contract is valid until the last December 31st, 2024. And the master grant contract sets up a system for submission of projects, grants, and scholarships for approval without requiring the reviews and approvals that are required for an entire intergovernmental agreement. So simply put, it simplifies the process of approving grant contracts or grant awards between the city and PHMC. I'm open for any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here tonight and thanks for sharing. I think you hit all of the high notes for me. You've provided a clear overview of what the grant will do. You shared the grant range, which is always important, and then the expiration date of December 31st, 2024. I don't have any questions, but I will open it up to my colleagues at this time. Councilman Madsen, do you have any questions?
I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Majors.
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Daniels.
Not right now.
Okay. Councilwoman Green.
No, I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Vice President Allett.
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. President Williams.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Grumbine, are there any projects that the city is looking to move forward to under the historic program?
So as you are aware, recently the city was approved for a grant award for from PHMC to review the adaptive reuse of the Armory building on 19th Street. So currently we're in the process of reviewing that grant and proceeding with that. Currently, there are other grant possibilities that we could review, such as of now, I'm updating the city's historic district guidelines for next year. So there's a possibility that I could apply for grant funding for the new document. Additionally, we could apply for a grant that would have an entire inventory of historic resources in our historic districts. So there is a variety of projects that we could apply for, but nothing is certain right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Bowers.
You're welcome. If there are no other questions for Mr. Grumbine, I would ask that we move forward with adding this resolution to our agenda for our legislative session next week. This concludes the work of the Building and Housing Committee. Thank you, President Williams.
Thank you. Moving on to public comment. Mr. Petrosky, is there any public comment?
Yeah, we have a few public comments, not as it relates to this agenda, but there are public comments. The first public comment is submitted by Miss Patricia Stringer on behalf of a resident, and as it relates to the proposed civilian positions in the police bureau. She asked where the money is coming from for these positions, specifically to Chair Allett. Who will the civilians report to? What's the pay grade, training? What police zones will the 12 positions cover? Must you live in the police zone? And why has the cleanup with Joshua Farms area not been completed? Also, why does staff not follow up when complaints are filed?
Okay.
The next comment is submitted by Tannen Herman. Writes, in light of the recent string of violence catching the attentions of those living outside of Allison Hill, I wanted to bring to the attention of City Council members as well as the administration the ongoing role I believe the property at 301 South 13th Street, formerly Spanish-speaking center, Webster Elementary, has played in contributing to overall lack of safety in the area and of this community. We all have been gravely affected by the pandemic, but I would like to point out prior to the crisis, we all have been struggling to survive. The contrary to popular opinion, these streets were increasingly safe, quiet, and welcoming. This has been largely in part of several organizations banding together alongside residents to foster some sense of community which we all know is paramount to achieving those goals. The property at 301 South 13th Street has stood as an impressive monument of past struggles in the community to eliminate the assault of criminal activity on residents, providing a haven for those speaking to keep the neighborhood in bondage with its marred reputation. Having lived to the property for over 8 years now, I can say that with great conviction that Skynet's development and maintenance of this property has been nothing short of stereotypical slumlord behavior, resulting in significant grievance towards the progress of the community. I would be surprised if there had been a single officer within our police department who has not visited this building, regardless of the length of their employment. There have been several police raids on this building. There have been well-known drug trafficking operations taking place there. We have routinely cleaned on around the property, collecting hundreds of used heroin needles just in the past 6 months. Councilman Dave Madsen participated in this directly at one event. And most recently on Sunday morning, a man was brutally gunned down in its parking lot, taking his last breaths on the cold pavement near my children's playhouse. I shared this with you as my own fight to maintain hope for the city's involvement in holding property owners like Skynet accountable for the behavior and presiding over criminal enterprises which threaten the community but greater endeavors of our city. We as a community are collectively making great strides to take back our streets, and it's disheartening to be told we need to step up or you're doing all you can do. Where's the apology to residents of our city and who has to endure the circumstances? Where's the invitation to work with residents towards solutions rather than perpetrating a stalemate towards no result? I've been a party to numerous complaints about the lack of strategic engagement in the community towards public safety, sat on committees to discuss the issues we face, mobilize residents and volunteers towards solutions. However, the absence of city resources available to remedy the public safety crisis we now face is unfathomable. I'm fully aware of the tight fiscal position we are in, yet I believe our financial hardship cannot be enduring reason to drown out our leadership, meaningful impact, and progress. I'm more committed now than ever to stand and fight for the respect of our community, and no way feel that one person can be held responsible for injustices we have learned to be so familiar with. My concern is simple. When will we reach a point where the meetings are insufficient, town halls are irrelevant, and excuses are irrelevant? Are we just to survive with the dynamics and hope it's not our own bodies crumbling lifelessly to the concrete? I need to know that there's a reason to keep fighting and believing that our leadership of our beloved city cares for all citizens. Before our obituaries make the news, I have to hope to see that leadership is more present than the slumlords plaguing the city. I pray that in hindsight of 2020, we would allow us to move forward together and not repeat the mistake of the past. I implore you to take action and rid us all of the injustices at 301 South 13th Street. The next comment is submitted by Brandon Basin. I would like to state my displeasure at having been lied to by the mayor and council president in regards to body cam footage that was later released showing Brandon Hoover violating the Fourth Amendment rights, pepper spraying and assaulting a group of activists working towards police reform. Sadly, I find their dishonesty no more surprising than Commissioner Carter at the Harrisburg Borough Police once again showing us that there's no accountability for police who violate the rights of citizens. It's no secret where any of their loyalties are. I'm curious why or to believe where the Harrisburg police are telling us how many guns that they have seized supposed to make us think that any progress has been made while shootings keep spiking in the city. One could argue that policing is not how to effectively solve violence in the community, and the mayor's insistence on pouring on more money in the police is irresponsible and unquestioning opposition to defunding the police. My main reason for my comment today involves public access to current police union contract. As of writing this comment, it's still unavailable on the city's website. This was a promise at the public town halls this summer. There was also a Freedom of Information Act request made in August, and to follow up, still no response from the city, but inaction. This yet is another promise to the people of the city broken in an interest of the Harrisburg Police Bureau. There's a social contract you are failing to uphold on your end. Asking for cooperation of residents while not keeping to your part is arrogant and laughable. This comment is submitted by Liam Hicklin. Dear members of council, thank you for passing Bill 8, establishing a committee to review complaints against the police department, and for taking the process seriously. Hopefully the committee will be independent of the Harrisburg Bureau of Police and will not feel beholden to the mayor, the council, or the police chief in discharge of their duties. The need for the board as independent was highlighted in the mayor's strategy to discredit Dr. Kamika Campbell's complaint against the police department. In an attempt to control the narrative, the incident that led the detainment of Dr. Campbell, Mayor Pat Mafus released the body camera footage taken by the officer. However, the incident promised a precedent showing that how quickly the body cam footage can be released if the police believe it will exonerate them. However, rather than allowing the footage to stand on its own, text was added to the beginning of the video to explain the public to interpret it. The text includes several factual errors, apparently in an attempt to spin the events that were not substantiated by the video. They claim that the officer activated the scene floodlights on the patrol vehicle to identify himself, and that from the officer was able to see 8 to 10 people present in the backyard isn't supported by the segment of the released footage. The video begins when the officer shines the flashlight towards the house outside the gate. The officer states that he used the flashlight to get their attention, and he heard someone say, "Oh, it's the police," but no one approached. While the statement can be heard muted on audio, it's obvious that even someone did say it's the police. He did not wait for sufficient time for anyone to meet him, and he shined the flashlight in time he entered the yard. He opens the gate immediately after shining his light, and the time he enters the yard and closes the gate, someone's already walking the path toward him. Maybe he thought it was no big deal and his intentions were good, but he wanted to talk to the owner about the noise complaint issue and warning and leave. But no matter his intentions, he did not enter the property to get the owner's attention, and he did not have legal right to open the gate without permission. If he had waited for just a few minutes longer, the person approaching would have met him at the gate. If no one responded to him shining the flashlight in the yard, he had several options at his disposal to get their attention, from walking to the front and ringing the doorbell to activating the blue lights and the loudspeaker and announce himself. The officer's decision to enter the gate where reasonable expectation of privacy is afforded by the Fourth Amendment, which is the catalyst to the entire incident. The written narrative then claims that the officer, Dr. Campbell, to identify herself several times while she increasingly was upset and moved toward him in a threatening manner, prompting him to retreat to the fence, request backup. Interestingly, the detail he could smell alcohol in breath seems to be thrown in to suggest that she was dangerous and unstable because she has been drinking. But before she got loud, Dr. Campbell asked the officer several times to move to the parking lot so that they could talk. She gave her name, spelled her first name before asking to leave. She agreed that he had the right to come on the property and deliver a citation, but challenged his insistence that he had a right to enter the gate. It was, I have to admit, pretty genius of the mayor to release the footage. He calculated that he would garner support from the people and saw a loud Black woman directing foul, disrespectful language at the police officer whose tone was calm and a matter of fact. It's almost if the mayor knew that the violation of the homeowner's rights would not be examined, but the viewers would judge Dr. Campbell for her tone in the incident. Doesn't matter to city council, the mayor, that the policeman entered a private gate without truly announcing himself, without exhausting the resources he had available to get Dr. Campbell's attention from outside of property. Finally, the mayor's attempt to shame Dr. Campbell was wasting the city's public safety resources during a noise complaint glosses over a deeper issue. While the kids are getting shot and murdered around Harrisburg, the police respond to a noise complaint in a majority white neighborhood. That the police are responding so quickly to qualified life complaints in gentrified areas of Harrisburg while ignoring public safety complaints in Allison Hill, Uptown, is not Dr. Campbell's fault. That the police do not respond to a person making a noise complaint on the Hill while sending a total of 4 officers to Shipoke for similar complaint betrays even allocation of resources. and uneven enforcement of city ordinances. Maybe the mayor should encourage residents to think other ways to resolve nuisance complaints rather than relying on police to resolve petty matters, so they can concentrate the resources in more critical areas. I suspect that he will now take that simple step, as his complaint about Dr. Campbell has nothing to do with her tying up his resources and everything to do with his attempt to discredit her, shift blame, and paint the victim as an aggressor. And the final comment is from Angela Kirkland, and she writes, Mayor Eric Packenfoos does not care about Black people. And that is all for the public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Vedrosky. May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Meeting is officially adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.